Open public hearing. This is 7E on a request for a land use variance to construct a 24 by 14 storage building for Monica Vega located at 703 West San Antonio. The property legal description, lot 8 and 9, block 1, COL, PROG, currently zoned R1, single family residence. This is a land use variance. We are in open session. Is there any comment? Is there any comment? More chance for comments. No comments? Closed at 7:23. We are now in open session for item 7H. This is on a request for land use variance concurrently with the application for a continued use permit for Maria Castilla Cabrera to allow for a 16 by 72 1997 manufactured home on the property described as Lot 5, Block 2, Oster-Young Addition. We are in open session. Is there any comments? Is there any comments? One time, any comments? Hearing none, I will go to closed session. It is 7:24. Okay, moving on to item 7K. On the request for a land use variance congruently with the application for a conditional use permit for Rebecca De Leon in order to allow a 28 by 48 manufactured home on property located at 520 Peach Street. The property's legal description is lot 13, block J, Pearsall, Rio County. Currently zoned single family. We are in open session. Is there any comment? Yes, ma'am.
I just want to add that I asked that you honor the recommendation for the planning and zoning for approval on the variance.
Okay, all
That's
right.
all I would add.
Okay, very good. Council, you heard the statement. Any other statement?
What
Any
was
other
her
statement?
Mayor, what was her statement? I'm sorry.
This is Rebecca De Leon.
Uh-huh.
This is item 7K, and her comment was that you honor the recommendation made by planning and zoning.
Okay.
Did I state that correctly?
Yes, we did.
Any other comments? Hearing none, now close that session. It is 7:25. Okay, moving on to item 7N, a request for a conditional, we are now in open session. On the request for a conditional use permit for Jorge and Petra Ayala to place a 27 by 52 manufactured home. The property's legal description being .499 of an acre out of subdivision 30 of the Pablo Ortiz Survey, 1411 Abstract 530. We are in open session. Is there any comments? Asking for any comments. One more opportunity. Any comments? Hearing none, I will close session. It is 7:26. Moving on to item 7Q. On the request for a conditional use permit for Hilario Ramirez to allow a 14 by 70 manufactured home to be located on 507 South Apple Street. Legal description is lot 7, block R, zoned R1, residential single family dwelling. We are in open session. Is there any comments?
Yeah, I would just like to say if the city council would take the recommendation to pass it, just for the fact that it met all the recommendations with setbacks and no variance needed, so we can get the ball rolling on the project or to move the trailer over to that property.
Okay. Council, you heard comment? Very good. Any other comments? Any other comments? That being said, 7:26, we are closing that session. Okay, item 7T, we are in open session. This is a request for a land use variance for Eleanor Kyle to construct a fence on 1402 East Leona. The property is zoned AO agricultural open space. The property's legal description being described as Lot 1, Block 1, Margarita Flores subdivision in the city of Pearsall. We are in open session. Is there any comments? Is there any comments? Any comments? Hearing none, I will close the session. It is 7:27. Okay, citizens, council, thank you very much. Went through that. Now, we will go through, we have a consent item. This is the meeting from the January 9th meeting. Your minutes are there. We do have a correction. On item 2, it does not reflect that Councilwoman Tiffany Talamantes was present. She was present, so with that correction noted, is there any other corrections or additions to the January 9th meeting? Okay, with that being said, I call for a vote. Where's our council? I call for a motion and a second.
Motion.
Second.
We do have a quorum present, myself, there is a motion and a second. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes unanimously. All right, City Secretary, did you get your motion or second?
Correct, sir.
Okay, got it.
Just, you might wanna note that James
And Ms. Aurora, yes, sir.
That stepped out. All right, council, we're moving on to the action items. I'm going to ask that you, on behalf of the individuals that are here, represented by item 9I through 9O, these are the variance items that we just went over, that we make a motion to move those up to the front, so we can deal with those first, and allow them to either stay if they want to, or leave. So with a motion and a second and approval, we'll go ahead and move those to the front.
Motion.
There's a motion by Councilman Trevino, and we have a second by Councilwoman Trevino. Is there any questions? Hearing none, call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. With that, we are going to discuss item 9I. Discuss and consider and act on ordinance number 2024-0201 for a land use variance currently with the application for continued use permit for Abigail Morales to allow a 12 by 56, 2024 manufactured home located on North Peach Street. Yolanda, you have the floor, you have a report for the council?
I have,
Council?
I provided you all with a spreadsheet. I apologize, it is an Excel spreadsheet. I tried to fit it so it's kind of small, but it's a summary of the planning and zoning's recommendations and a summary of what.
Does everybody have a copy of that?
Yes, sir.
All right, council,
We
we're
can
on
go through
Abigail
these really
Morales.
fast with that summary. So with Ms. Morales, it's concurrently an application for a conditional use permit to relocate a mobile home and a variance for the setbacks, the side setbacks. It's our minimum setback is 15, and she's asking for 14, so it's a difference of 1. And the date of the application was December 13, 2023. We sent out the 200-foot notice requirements. We sent out 22 letters. We received 4 favorable and no negative responses. P&Z recommends approval with the attached set conditions, and I'm gonna go over those because those are gonna be the same conditions for all of them. These are community development that are in our ordinances, and those are that, the most important ones is that this conditional use permit, if it's not used within 6 months, it's null and void.
I got a question.
Yes, sir.
What is the recommendation of city staff?
City staff it recommends to approve.
Okay.
It's, and I sent y'all,
With
there's
all
a,
conditional that was replaced?
yes, conditional with some with variances. I believe you have one that's a variance for an accessory use, which is the storage building. All the rest are concurrent applications, a conditional use for manufactured home and some variances, the setbacks. And the reason for these variances are because these lots are non-conforming lots. Currently, our ordinance requirements requires that a lot be, an R1 be the width 80 feet. Most of these lots, what we're finding throughout the city, especially in certain areas, these lots average about 40 feet in width. So they're non-conforming uses, and that's why you have a concurrent application asking for those setback variances.
Okay, council, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go through these, and then just upon the recommendation of planning and zoning, if there's any questions, council, that you may have, you may dig a little bit deeper on that. But I think you have before you the spreadsheet. So right now, we're moving to item 9I. I'm gonna go ahead and ask for a.
May I go ahead and, join all of them together and make a motion to approve all of them with the
Councilman,
conditional use
We're
permit?
gonna roll through this, but we should do them separately. We should do these separately, but we're gonna roll through it. So, item 9I, I'm gonna ask for a motion in a second.
Motion.
There's a motion by Councilman Leal, a second by Councilwoman R. Garza. Is there any questions? You heard the recommendation of planning and zoning to approve with conditions. Is there any questions or from the council? That being said, we'll call for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Going on to item 9J, discuss and consider an act on ordinance number 2024-0202, authorizing a land use variance to construct a 12 by 14 storage building for Monica Vega located at 703 West San Antonio. I need a motion. I have a motion by Councilman Leal. I have a second by Councilwoman Trevino. At this point, Yolanda, what's the recommendation of the planning and
The
zoning?
recommendation of planning and zoning is to approve with conditions, and if you'll note, the last column, the conditions is there's an existing storage shed. This lot, there is a picture, I believe, in your packet that shows it's a fairly populated lot. They have a lot going on in there. They've got 2 carports, they've got an existing storage shed, so P and Z is recommending that. And I believe the applicant has, agreed to remove one of the existing storage sheds because of the condition and, be allowed to build, this big, larger one. There's also a semi-tractor trailer that's on top of the lot as well. They are asking that that be removed since it's not in compliance with our city ordinances.
Okay, so you've heard the recommendation of planning and zoning. We have a first and a second. I'm calling for a vote. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Moving to item 9K, discuss, consider, and act on ordinance number 2024-0203, land use variance concurrently with an application for a conditional use permit for Margarita Castillo Cabrera in order to allow a 16 by 72 1997 manufacturing home that does not meet the criteria of the city ordinance number such and such. This is an action item. I'm gonna call for a motion in a second.
Motion.
I have a motion by Councilwoman Hernandez, a second by Councilwoman R. Garza. Yolanda, what is the recommendation of the planning and zoning?
Staff recommends, approval, with the conditions as specified in the planning and zoning meeting. I'd like to bring your attention to, initially, Ms. Cabrera had asked for a 0 variance. So what she wanted to do was, she owns lots 5 and 4, and she wanted to bring that mobile home right up on that lot line, 4. P and Z was concerned about, issuing a 0 variance because it is, future planning, she has talked about selling that lot and, being right up against that lot line. They were concerned also that it didn't leave any room for if any improvements that needed to be made, if someone needed to get in there, and that lot was sold, lot 4, they'd be trespassing into that lot 4. So they're recommending, instead of her 0 variance, at least a 5-foot setback.
Okay, with those conditions you've heard, there's a motion and a second. Any questions from the council? Hearing none, call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to item 9L, discuss and consider an act on an ordinance number 2024-0204 for a land use variance concurrently with an application for conditional use permit for Rebecca De Leon in order to allow a 28 by 48 manufacturing home on property located at 520 Peach Street. This is an action item. I'm gonna call for a motion.
Second.
A motion by Councilwoman R. Garza, a second by Councilman Trevino. Yolanda, what is the recommendation of planning and zoning?
So planning and zoning recommends approval, staff recommends approval, with the conditions that have been specified on your spreadsheet here. Mrs. De Leon is asking for a 5-foot variance. The minimum width that we require is 15 feet. However, again, this is a non-conforming lot. It doesn't have the 80-foot width, and she'd like to have some room to do a driveway so that she can, and we require that you do an off-street parking driveway So this would allow her to put a driveway in there. Staff is recommending that, along with the conditions that, the city has in ordinances that they skirt. All of these are, they have to skirt, they have to meet our building codes, everything. So that's part of the conditions that we will attach, and they will sign off that they understand that.
Thank you, Assistant City Manager. You've heard the recommendation of Planning and Zoning. Council, do you have any questions? That I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Going on to item 9M, discuss and consider an act on ordinance number 20240205 for a conditional use permit for Jorge and Pepe Ayala to place a 27 by 52 manufactured home on his property, being described as .499 of an acre, subdivision 30 of Pablo Ortiz, survey 1411, abstract 130. This is an action item. I'll call for a motion. Motion by Councilwoman Hernandez, second by Councilwoman R. Garza. Yolanda? what is the recommendation?
The recommendation from staff is approved, P and Z as well, is requesting that, one of the recommendations and the conditions that we require is that, the Yalas, this application has been dragging because we required a corrected survey. They, applied for a septic system through the county. And right now, the lot where that mobile home is, manufactured home is gonna go is a vacant lot, so there's no address. On the survey that was submitted, it's the wrong survey. The lots are not correctly identified. So we've asked them to submit, it was done by a surveyor, it was sealed, so that needs to be changed. It needs to be provided to us for our records. We're asking that they provide that to us. And we are recommending, it's a mobile home, there's no variance, they have plenty of lot space there.
With those conditions and approval of the Planning and Zoning Council, what's your pleasure on the vote? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Going on to item 9N, discuss and consider an act on ordinance number 20240206 for a conditional use permit for Hilario Ramirez to allow a 14 by 7 manufactured home to be located at 507 South Apple Street. This is for a conditional use permit. I need a motion and a second. I have a motion by Councilwoman R. Garza. May I have a second? Second by Councilwoman S. Sonia Hernandez. Yolanda, what is the recommendation of Planning and Zoning?
Planning and Zoning recommends approval. This is a conditional use permit for a manufactured home. Again, it's a non-conforming lot. There is currently a home there that is substandard. The applicant has applied for a demolition permit, however, that is pending the council's final approval or denial of this application to place a mobile home there.
Okay, you heard
That's-
the recommendation of our Assistant City Manager. Council, is there any questions? That being said, I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Motion passes unanimously. Last item, 9O, discuss, last item on these particular run, discuss and consider an act on ordinance number 20240207, authorizing a land use variance for Eleanor Kyle to construct a fence on 1402 East Leona Street. This is an action item. I'll call for a motion in a second. Motion by our Councilwoman R. Garza, second by Councilwoman Hernandez. Assistant City Manager, what is the recommendation of Planning and Zoning?
Planning and Zoning recommends, with staff confirming with Public Works, Mrs. Kyle is wanting to fence the front of her property, and the minimum width requirements for us is you go 40 feet in, and that would put that fence right up in front of her house, so she would like to ask for a variance for 20 feet. Planning and Zoning recommends it be approved on the condition that we check with Public Works that it is not going to be in the city's right-of-way. We have confirmed with Mr. Hector Gonda that it will not impede our city's right-of-way, so staff is recommending approval. I do need to point out for the record that we did get one negative response. That negative response has been placed in your packet as well.
Council, do you have any questions for Assistant City Manager for the recommendation of planning and zoning? We have a motion and a second. This I'll call for a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, motion passes unanimously.
Mayor, if I may, I'd like to make a couple announcements. This is probably the last of the applications. If you'll notice the date that these came in, they kind of came in at the very tail end of December to meet that effective date of January 1. We do have one other manufactured home that didn't get to meet here because they didn't provide us the correct width of the mobile home. So we had